Wow, what a game. What a way for the story to continue. Ronaldo's story continues. Portugal are into the round of 16. And my goodness, you couldn't write a better script because the roller coaster of emotions that game was absolutely incredible to witness, even as a neutral. I cannot imagine if you're Portuguese or Croatian, what like state your heart is in right now. What is your heart rate at right now? I don't know, man. I don't know how we do it, man. Football is incredible. Let's get into this game, but before we do, make sure you guys follow, like, and subscribe. We're on the road to 3K subs. Thank you to all of the new subscribers, by the way, recently. Welcome to the channel. Thank you very much. And yeah, let's get into it, man, because there was not much between these two teams. And for me, I think Portugal edged it based off of one thing, which I'll get to later. But you're talking about the first half. Portugal came on very strong, and it was something I've been begging to see for Portugal for a long time, basically since this World Cup started. And it was urgency. I wanted to see the urgency in this team. I wanted to see this team play like they really wanted it. And in that first half, they definitely did. And honestly, the whole game, they definitely did. You could sense the desperation from minute one, and it was incredible. And what's interesting for me is I think for this Portuguese team, if they're playing like this, they become so it's a totally different level of team, man. And another thing, I gotta shout out this guy, Rafa Leao today. A totally different complexion to this Portuguese side when he's in it and he's balling. My goodness. I don't know how Joao Felix was there for so long. And it's interesting because for Rafa Leao, you know, he was the man. He's basically the man in Serie A, right? This led Milan to a Serie A title. You know, he's been over the last 5 years the best player in Serie A. However, that never translated to Portugal for whatever reason. It just never did. He never had the juice in the national team. But today, this brother had the juice. This brother had the juice. Great assist to win the game, by the way, for a goal that was made in Milan. We'll get to that later. But my gosh, Rafa Leao, let's clap it up for him. Let's clap it up for him. Another person I want to bring up who not so positive to say about, but I don't think it's entirely his fault, is one thing I'm paying attention to so far this World Cup is Vitinha's fit in this national team, because for what Roberto Martinez asked of him, I don't know if it's the, correct fit for his kind of game. I mean, you're talking about Vitinha being one of the first phase, the best first phase midfielder in the game. He can play basically on the ball as a center back and really get your team going from the first phase. However, outside of that, that's not really his forte, right? You're not asking him to be super influential in the final third or whatnot, right? You leave that to the other guys, the other eights, especially at PSG. So when he's playing in a double pivot, he's kind of asked to do some more. And so far, I just don't think it's been working all that much. I really don't think so. I don't know if you experiment with maybe putting him on the bench. It sounds taboo to say, but I just think if you put in a more robust midfielder, right, maybe you lose a little bit of that possession, finesse and whatnot and keeping the ball, right? But I think it makes Portugal a little bit better, actually, if he comes off of the bench. Because now if he comes off the bench, he can actually close the game with possession footy, right? You can keep the ball, defend the result, make the other team chase you, and then you'll find opportunities. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing there, but I really don't enjoy Vitinha's performances recently. And I'm being genuine because you guys see my wall, man. I got 4 PSG jerseys behind me. I'm saying this out of love. I don't know if he's been platformed correctly, for what Roberto Martinez wants in this double pivot. However, look, Portugal, they get the results. And let's talk about this game from beginning to end now, because like I said, Portugal came out desperate, urgent, and you love to see it. They had a few opportunities. Bruno Fernandes had a few opportunities early on in the first half. But when they did not convert these chances, I'm thinking to myself, man, you know the saying, if you don't convert your chances, the chances will convert you into a loser. And when Croatia come out of the second half, scoring early, now you're down one. I'm thinking, man, is this it for Portugal? They're gonna regret those chances. For Portugal, for Ronaldo, is this really how it ends? but Croatia bailed them out. And I can only blame Croatia here because what are we doing? What is Vlasic doing there? I mean, I understand, right? In modern football, we don't see these kind of penalties called all the time where guys are tussling in the box during a corner. People get shoved all the time there, but it's never called a penalty. At most, the referee blows his whistle real quick, stops the corner, and says, "Hey guys, stop it." You know, he gives them a little performative talk, but we never see it called for a pen. However, you watch this penalty, and all you can say is, "Wow, how dumb was that?" How dumb was that? I mean, this brother Vlasic has Renato Vega by the waist. His whole body weight is below him. This guy's knee is touching the ground. He's trying to go ass to grass here with Renato Vega gripped in his hands. Easy penalty. And look, man, you're talking about one of the best penalty takers of all time. If you had a penalty to save your life, you're calling Cristiano Ronaldo. And look, was there ever going to be any different result, man? Steps up to the spot, sends it straight down the middle. Look at the cojones on El Bicho, huh? Sends it straight down the middle. And I'll tell you what, man, we got to give him credit. You know, people are going to be like, oh, of course, Ronaldo, Pendu. This is how he gets his first World Cup knockout goal. Great, by the way, for him to finally get that off his chest. However, this is still a World Cup knockout game penalty. Ask Harry Kane what that's like. Ask Roberto Baggio what that's like. Ask Ghana in 2010 versus Uruguay what that is like. It is the most, painstaking, nerve-wracking penalty you can take in the game. And Ronaldo coolly slots it home. And now, Portugal are back in this. It is 1-1, and the game's just feels like it's, it's on those balance things, right? It's like, this way, that way, it's on a seesaw. Eventually, one Goncalo Ramos comes in the game. And let me tell you about this guy. Let me tell you about Goncalo Ramos, okay? If this guy is in the starting lineup for your team, do not expect anything from him. I'm telling you, 0. You will get nothing from him. However, if this brother is coming off of the bench, be prepared for one of the most clutch goals your club or your team will ever score in your lifetime. This brother is the Leo Messi of super sub strikers. I've never seen anything like it. Since he's come to PSG, every time he scores a goal off the bench, it is one of the most important goals in club history. Whether it's versus Man City to save PSG in the Champions League or to win the Super Cup versus Marseille, this brother is incredible off of the bench. And look, if you're a Milan fan, right, this is what you can expect, okay? Have him come off the bench. I'm sure you'll win another Scudetto. If you're starting him, I don't know about all that. Man, oh man, wow. Goncalo Ramos, hats off to him, man. Hats off to him. I'm going to miss him on the PSG bench, man, because this guy, whenever he came in, he always gave us hope. He came in just to score penalties at times, and he always scored his penalty, whether it was in the UCL final versus Arsenal or last year versus Liverpool. This brother, wow, wow, wow. What a way to win the game for Portugal. But we also have to talk about this almost goal afterwards. And it kind of speaks to Portugal's weaknesses because Portugal are very lucky to still win this game. It just if the wind was a little bit stronger, we could be talking about a different result because this comes off of a Croatian attacker's head and Paslic is offside, unfortunately, and that basically disallows the goal because that goal, the ball got deflected off the Paslic and ends up in the back of the goal by Vardiol, I think. But Paslic was offside because it hit the Croatian attacker's head just barely. And I'm thinking when I watched the replay, hell nah, it did not touch his head. That's what I'm thinking. I'm with a lot of people. I'm basically Croatian at this point. I'm thinking there's no way it touches his head. However, they have sensors in the ball, so we can shout out modern technology. And for as much flack as VAR gives us, this is what we want to see, actually. This is what I want to see. I want to see these types of decisions that are so crucial, that basically hold a program, a whole national team's, happiness in the balance. I want it to be 100% correct. Yes, down to the minute detail. that the sensor in the ball goes off at the slightest touch to signify contact and know that that was an offside goal. I understand it is heartbreaking for Croatians. However, this is what VAR is for, and I am totally for that. So it's heartbreaking. It's lucky for Portugal. And yeah, man, if Bernardo Silva was just a little bit late, who knows what we would be talking about right now. But Portugal advanced to the round of 16. And now let's talk about this round of 16. Portugal versus Spain. You cannot talk about this matchup without talking about two things. Nuno Mendes versus Lamine Yamal. And you know Lamine Yamal wants his get back because, yeah, Lamine Yamal pulled off a few tricks in October versus Nuno Mendes when it was Barcelona versus PSG. But Nuno Mendes ended up the winner in that game, in my opinion. Say what you want. Nuno Mendes came out on top in that game. And then you talk about the Nations League final from last year as well, where Nuno Mendes absolutely shut down Lamine Yamal. You know Yamal wants revenge. That's going to be an absolute cracker of a game. And then another thing, the Spanish midfield versus this Portuguese midfield. So far, the Portuguese midfield has been very inconsistent, underwhelmed for the majority of their time at the World Cup. But this Spanish midfield, man, last time they came up against the Portuguese midfield, it was tough. It was a tough time. It was quite a tough time. So I think that's going to be the key to that game. Obviously, we also have the stars, right? Ronaldo, Yamal, etc. But man, I cannot wait for that. And as far as the journey continuing, as far as the story continuing for Ronaldo, now we know he has gone after this. He confirmed it. Can he keep going? Will it be his last match? Will it be the young GOAT Lamine Yamal sending the old GOAT home? That game is about to be so special. So special. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy, Ollie Footy. I cannot wait. We have some more World Cup stuff tomorrow. Obviously, Messi plays. I think I'll probably cover the Algeria-Switzerland game, I think is what's next tonight, tomorrow. But yeah, Egypt play tomorrow. Colombia play tomorrow. My gosh. We've got some content coming out. Make sure, again, you guys follow, like, and subscribe. It's been your boy, Ollie Footy. Until next time, we